How does Z treat Goku this time? What about against her brother? Hey guys, MasakoX here. After so much interest in the first part of this story, I felt that I needed to give some thought to this next part, but the time is right to come back to it. After such an interesting reception, we are going to be returning to looking at the scenario about what might have happened if Goku was born female. Like I've said before, this kind of scenario could easily be misinterpreted or over-sexualized because Goku, really? No. Dragonball isn't necessarily all about that, and of course, Toriyama does dip into that every now and again for comedic purposes, but for the most part it's mainly about the fighting. As I said in the previous video, the origins of a female Goku are pretty much the same as they are in the original. After arriving on Earth though, things changed for her quite considerably in comparison to the original scenario. And instead of the typical thing that happening all the time if you're fighting a woman, that you have to go easy on her and not be that mean to her, no, that didn't happen at all. Goku just pretty much went hell for leather as usual. And instead of that whole predictable narrative chestnut happening, Goku instead kind of just got closer to her friends, unlike her male counterpart. Goku and Bulma's friendship was far closer, and Chi-Chi is around way more, and has actually dedicated her life to fighting and being part of the Z crew. She's determined to perk up her interest as a fighter, beat Goku, and also defend her clan. Not only that, but the rest of the Z Warriors actually keep in touch much more frequently. You know, it doesn't go for like months at a time. They go like, oh yeah, I remember you. Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Chiaotzu, and Chi-Chi are Earth's strongest line of defense. Something that I described in my last outing as the Breakfast Club of Combat. Question, Masako. Since they're more likely to be keeping in touch with each other and therefore training much more often, would this actually therefore affect their power levels in any way? Well, I mean, yes, of course it would. If you're gonna be actually hanging out more, then the chances are that you're gonna be training a little bit more, as well as actually having a motivation. Most of the time, the training would take place at Kame House, under the watchful gaze of Master Roshi, who is totally not doing what you might expect, or they're spending time at Goku's place in the forest. It can vary depending on what people want to do. In the original story, most of the Z fighters, like Krillin, Tenshinhan, and Yamcha, they were around about the 200 mark. And I believe that Chi-Chi was around the 150 marks, but thanks to all of this training and practice, they are all around about the same, about 400, so maybe about double what they would be in the original story. But unfortunately for Chi-Chi, Goku is absolutely determined to beat Chi-Chi. She's excited by this, and therefore Goku's power level is around about 500. It's not that far off, but you know, it's noticeably higher. But Masako, how can these power levels be so much higher than before? You're being far too nice to your characters, Masako! Unsubscribe! Okay, let me give you my reasoning for that one. In the 1 year after Raditz arrived and then Vegeta and Nappa arrived, the Z Fighters did a lot of intense training, and they got around about 5 or 6 times stronger than they were at the beginning of Z, and that's quite a lot. But to be fair, that's when the Earth was at stake. But when it's not, and probably with less intense training, I think a power increase of maybe 2 times is far more reasonable when you actually compare the two. Okay, so what happens when Raditz arrives? Well, Piccolo, seeing as he's kept himself to himself, his power's not really changed all that much. Of course, he's focused and meditated, and he has gotten a little bit stronger, but he's no different as to what he was in the original story. Instead of Raditz actually interrogating Piccolo, because he's a reasonably high power level, he's actually more focused on the group of power levels which are on a particular place. I mean, come on, think about it. If you're a Saiyan and you see, okay, 1 reasonably strong power level, and then you got like 6 quite strong power levels all in one place, you kind of want to go to that one. Piccolo is ignored entirely, but that doesn't mean that he ignores Raditz. He can sense the high power level of the Saiyan, so therefore he follows him to investigate. Everyone's just chilling out at Kame House, just having a relax. Krillin hasn't made any advances on Goku in the intervening years. I mean, sure, he's made a couple of small advances perhaps, a couple of hints, but Goku's just not taken the bait. Goku is far too keen in focusing on her training, and therefore, that means that there is no Gohan around at this point. Suddenly, Goku senses a huge power level heading their way, but it's not Piccolo. In their midst, Raditz descends upon the group. He scouts around and looks around them, and immediately recognizes Kakarot. He berates her and says, "Why haven't you been doing your mission? I mean, I know that you're quite weak, but you should have been able to take care of these chumps." Raditz gives the whole Saiyan spiel. Everyone's shocked, including Goku. And yes, of course, Bulma is shocked as well, but she can't say that she's that surprised. Goku's been really weird, and actually this explains a lot of behaviors, and yeah, Bulma as a scientist and a pragmatic thinker is like, okay. Tiring of all these pleasantries, Raditz then insists that Kakarot join him, and together they can take down a local planet and then actually conquer it for their own ends. But, typically, Goku's gonna refuse. She doesn't really want to do that. He then turns around in a fit of rage and blasts Kame House to several million pieces. Since Gohan's not around, he can't use the kid as a bargaining chip. He's just gonna take out his anger in another way. But fortunately, since everybody was outside looking at Raditz doing his thing, no one's actually killed or injured when the house is destroyed. But come on, you broke Kame House, stop breaking Kame House. Raditz then gives Goku 12 hours to change her mind, or else Raditz will blow up the planet. He then leaves, leaving everybody to process exactly what just happened. Goku is angry. How can someone that calls himself her brother be so cruel? She just doesn't get it. The gang then decide what they want to do at this point, but given the fact that he's really strong and could blow up the planet, or at least they think he could, the only obvious answer is to fight him. As Piccolo is heading towards Kame House, he actually bumps into Raditz mid-flight. Raditz is feeling frustrated that his sister would not join him in glorious combat, so he decides to take his anger upon the Namekian. He's not as strong as them, so he decides to use the guy as a punching bag. Goku can sense this happening. If Piccolo's being downed right now, they gotta take care of this guy. Goku tells Nimbus to go even faster, and Bulma punches the chopper that everybody else is actually flying on, because remember, not anyone else can fly yet. On their way, they recover Piccolo, who is clinging onto life on a nearby island, and, they're trying to put their differences aside at this point, but Piccolo's being typically stubborn. Piccolo wants to know who that guy was. Goku then explains that that was her brother, and Piccolo just keeps saying, "Oh my god, it spreads." Having gotten Piccolo safely onto land, Goku promises to come back when all of this is said and done and give him the sensu bean. Piccolo snarks and just doesn't believe Goku, saying that, "Oh, you're just going to leave me here to die in the sun." But Goku is serious. She will come back for him. Raditz turns around and assumes that Goku's changed her mind and decided to bring everyone else. Maybe they might join his side as well. Maybe Raditz could be the leader of this small posse taking on other planets, and that's good for Raditz, I guess. It makes things way easier, and maybe Vegeta will be happy with him. But unfortunately for him, this isn't a welcoming party or a greeting in any way. They all get into their fighting stances, and Raditz is actually kind of shaken, but he's deciding not to show it at this point. And yes, I know I talked about their power levels being about 400 or 500, but remember, Raditz is around 1200 to 1400 at this point, so together they might be able to beat him. Also, these guys are adept at fighting as a team. In those years, they have come up with several different techniques and combo moves that involve 2, 3, 4, or all of them at once, so they have got a big advantage here. Yes, Raditz could hit one of them quite easily and quite hard, but as soon as he's taken out one, there'll be another one immediately coming to counter. And then things get even harder for him when they take off their weighted clothing. Yes, everybody has weighted clothing. The power increase at the time is not that much, it's about maybe 10-20% or so, given what information I have. But, it's something, and as a collective, it just makes Raditz's life even harder. Now with them mostly just wearing basic tops and clothing, Raditz is really on the back foot. He's able to get quite a few ki blasts out and use his advantage of being able to fly, unlike everybody else, to his advantage, but, that's pretty much it when it comes to Raditz having any benefits. He's getting tired because he has to be focused at every single point at this battle, because there's everyone surrounding him, and that's before we get to multiform. Krillin, Yamcha, and Tenshinhan break out their multiforms and make 2 copies of each other, so it just makes Raditz's task even harder. And yes, I know, when you use multiform, you're kind of splitting your power level, but still, if you're getting it from several directions, it's hard to keep up. Especially since Raditz can't sense ki, he has to rely on his Scouter, and I'm pretty sure that Scouter can only take so much processing information at one point. At this point, Raditz has no choice but to use his ultimate attack, a full power double Sundae. But then the group counter with a massive, full-on group Kamehameha, because everybody knows that. This Goku is far more inclined to share information, unlike the original Goku, who was kinda selfish. The struggle is hard. This is a massive beam struggle, the first that we've ever kind of seen. It's something that the Earth has never seen before, but, we'll see quite a lot of going into Z further on, if you know what I mean. Ultimately, the Saiyan is overwhelmed by the gang. When everything is done, Goku is actually kinda sad. She didn't really get to know her brother enough. I mean, if only he hadn't just tried to kill them. She could have gotten to know about her heritage, her race. It would have answered so many questions, but no, it had to end like this. But unfortunately, the feeling isn't that mutual. Raditz is cursing his sister's impudence and stubbornness and reneging her Saiyan ways. He then goes on to say that there are two Saiyans coming who are far stronger than him, they better be prepared or else the Earth will be destroyed, yada yada yada, Raditz being all that way, and then he just goes bleh. With the gang processing this, Goku decides to head back to where Piccolo is located because they need to have a talk about what's going to be happening in about a year's time. Back on the island, Piccolo has managed to get back up on his feet and is slowly starting to heal himself, but he kinda needs a senzu bean at this point. He's able to at least stand. Goku then invites Piccolo to join the Z Fighters. But then Piccolo mocks the invitation, saying why would he do that after all of these years of him not doing so? Yeah, they were able to get rid of that one Saiyan, but there are going to be two Saiyans who are far stronger coming pretty soon, so really, they should put all of their differences aside and join up as one unit to take them on. This shocks Piccolo again. After swallowing his pride and decides to keep a brave face, he agrees to fight alongside them when they arrive, but he won't become a part of their team. He will train on his own, and he will promise that when the Saiyans arrive, he will be there. Kami then contacts Goku to state that what the Saiyans said was indeed true. Two strong forces are now making a beeline towards Earth, and they will indeed, sure enough, be there in 1 year's time. He requests that all of them head up to the lookout to train with them and come up with a plan as best as they can. After a few weeks of training, they're making some kind of progress, but Goku feels like something's not right, it's not enough. They're gonna need much more than this, so she asks Kami, is there any other way that they can train even more? He considers the idea of taking them all to the other world to train with maybe King Kai. So he calls up Yema on the telepathic phone and asks whether he can actually bring 6 mortals who are still alive to the other world to train with the king. He grants Kami this request, but just to one of them. Kami then relays the information and says that they have to pick one of them to go and train with King Kai. The gang then say, Goku, you should be the one to go, but then declines the invitation. She doesn't want to give up on them. They're her friends. They stuck together through thick and thin for all of these years. They fought together as one unit. If she went off and got stronger than them, they'd be disconnected. She doesn't want that. They're her family. Kami, and therefore by proxy Yema, is shocked that this mortal would be so flippant. Goku says that either everybody goes or no one goes. Yema, now actually kind of both shocked, angered, and kind of impressed at this fortitude from just one mortal, actually then says, okay, you can all go and train with King Kai, but Kami, you have to do the paperwork. Kami then just says, oh, absolutely sure. I mean, paper? How hard can it be? You have no idea, Kami. Having got to said world and then traversed Snake Way, they all arrive on King Kai's planet at the same time. Sure enough, they go through the trials of Bubbles and Gregory, and of course, making sure to make King Kai laugh, and Krillin does exceptionally well with this, with so many cue ball jokes about his appearance and the fact that he's bald. During this time though, Tenshinhan brings up the point about how are they going to get back to Earth, because it's taken them that long to get to Snake Way. They're going to have to cut their things short. How are they going to be able to do what they need to do? Can they actually talk through King Kai to get to Kami to relay a message? Well, King Kai says, yeah, he can. He asks the Guardian of Earth to gather the Dragon Balls and be ready to wish them back at a moment's notice. Kami agrees to do this. Months pass and the gang get way stronger, and this time everybody knows the Kaioken because they're all together, the gravity training's helped out quite a bit in terms of their integrity, and also Goku wants everyone to be on an equal playing field, or at least a somewhat equal level. But at the same time, Goku's the only one who's been able to master the Spirit Bomb in this short amount of time. Kami can sense that Nappa and Vegeta are heading towards Earth's atmosphere, and tells the gang via King Kai that they better get ready to head back because he's going to use the Dragon Balls. The gang then say goodbye to King Kai and they all arrive back on Earth. Goku can immediately sense the ferocious power of Vegeta and Nappa, and they better get to Korin's Tower to get the senzu beans that they need to fight, and hope that they meet up with Piccolo along the way. They all try to hide their powers as best as they can, but unfortunately, Vegeta and Nappa are spoiling for the fight, and they have much more advanced scouters. They can sense the 6 powers that are slightly greater than the populace, and they're flying for some reason. I don't think that these guys can fly. They're different. They might be strong. They might be trying to hide, so... Oh no, they don't! Nappa's really smart. Speaking of said gang, they arrive at Korin's Tower, about to get the senzu beans that they came for, but oh no! It's Vegeta with a surprise attack! And that's where we're going to leave things for now. And yes, I know the gender difference isn't as pronounced in this part as it was in the previous part, but it does make quite a bit of a difference. This Goku is far more likely to work with a team and be cohesive as a unit. Everybody got to train with King Kai at the same time, on an equal level, and it might be really interesting to see how they can all bounce off of each other against Vegeta and Nappa. It was quite compelling against Raditz, so double the fun, I guess. So what do you guys think? Did you like this part? How do you think the fight between them, Vegeta and Nappa will go? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!